Yeah, all right, welcome to today's video. Wait a second, something feels off. There we go, so much better. Here's my question to you. How much rehab does that house need? Okay, so we're back here. I got a bright shirt on. Now there's a few things that we're gonna talk about today. I got 3 main points that I'm gonna jump to in a sec. But the first question that we need to always ask ourselves when we're investing is, do we really need to do a rehab? Does this house actually need to do a rehab in order to sell it? Or can I flip it quickly for quick profits? Depending on what your strategy is, that's going to depend on if you actually need to do a rehab and if you want to factor in those costs. But usually you're going to always want to factor in rehab costs when you're buying a property, because that's what people who are going to buy your house, they're going to want to know how much it costs. So when we're thinking about how much rehab does this house really need, the question also is do you want to rent it out? Because if you want to rent it out, you might need to make it a little more livable. But if you want to sell it and flip it quickly, you might not need to put as much into it to flip it. But obviously, always adding in stuff can make it flip a lot easier. So you want to make sure you do that. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this, because this shirt is super bright and I don't want to blind you with it. So when you're looking at a house and you're wondering how much rehab does it need, point number 1 is the best data you're going to get is from a contractor. So I know there's websites out there that you can estimate costs, and we recommend you use that. There's one called rsmeans.com, and they release this book with like the average cost of everything you could think of in a rehab, and that's great. But the closest price you're gonna get is gonna come from a contractor. So when you're doing that, you might even wanna get a couple contractors in your area to have a look, because sometimes contractors aren't the nicest people and they might rip you off. Not that all of them are bad. I actually worked for one who was epic back in my hometown. So he was great, but they're not all that great. So you just have to be careful, and you might want to get a couple estimates to work around. So that's a super important point. Point number 2, it's good to get a base knowledge of the key elements that are going to go into your rehab. So things like the roof, the flooring, like kitchen and bath, how much a room would cost to fix up. So like roof, landscaping, like bedrooms, stuff like that. That's going to be super important when you're doing and estimating your rehab, because it's going to just allow you to make rough guesses, and then when the contractor comes in, you're going to not be kicked in the pants with how expensive this thing is. So it's super important. And the third and final thing I want to mention in this video, number 3, not 6, you're never really going to know the exact numbers until you're able to get inside that property. So it's good to take a guess, really good to make broad guesses. So we always err on the conservative side and just like basically a lot, like 10K for a small rehab, or 5K, even if the house looks like it's in great condition. Because you never know what you're gonna see when you're on the inside, and you don't wanna overbid for these things and lose out on your profit, because then you're just left with a headache. Again, you're not gonna know exactly how much is needed until you get into the inside of the house, and that usually happens after you buy the deed or the property, and then you're able to get in. So keep that in mind. We're making rough guesses here, but they're educated guesses, because we have a broad understanding of how much stuff costs. And once you talk to a few contractors, they can give you a rough like cost per square foot percentage or number, but you'll never really know that until you get a contractor and get them to tell you what it is. So one thing you could do is you could call 3 contractors and ask them what a rough cost per square foot rebuild is on a house. So that's like assuming, let's just say the bathroom's toast and it's 200 square feet or 100 square feet or 50 square feet. Like how much would it cost to redo that bathroom? Or if it's a bedroom, and they should be able to give you a rough number. So do that. So alongside that little homework lesson, the biggest takeaway is you've got to see these properties. And if you can't see these properties, you have to budget for the rehab. It's super important. It doesn't matter if it's a tax lien or wholesaling, you're going to need to see inside these properties or leave big enough budgets for you in case there's a catastrophe in the house and you don't know about it. But be careful, because you don't want to go snooping too hard, especially at nighttime, because 1, it's not really legal and we don't ever recommend you snoop on a property that's not yours. And 2, some people have guns and they might shoot you, and that's not good. So I hope you found that video helpful. I would love for you to subscribe to our channel right here. And you look to me like someone who would enjoy a good community of like-minded investors. We've got a free offer below this video for a great book, and we're building this huge community of real estate investors, and I would love for you to join it. So have a look, the link's below this video. You might even see it pop up on the screen right here. And you can also see the subscribe button here. So we hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Finishes the foreclosure process. The foreclosure process